What's up, everybody? My name is Paul DiNuzzo, sometimes Paulie D, and yes, sometimes even PLD. That's out for you, Billy Belford.
And I'm Richard-Erik Jarvi, or one might call me today, Giancarlo Stanton. Uh-oh.
Got rid of that real quick.
I went there.
You did go there, but I'm getting rid of that real quick. We can't have any of that in there. So.
So those who can't see it, my name said Giancarlo Stanton because I'm wearing his jersey. But you're watching Class Action.
That's right.
Tell us all about this, Paul.
I will. Class Action is our show here on the Action Industries YouTube channel, where we will take two opposing sides, and actually sometimes even three opposing sides, as we're going to learn today. It could be movies, franchises, Hollywood personas, scenes, weapons, anything we want out of Hollywood, really, honestly. And we'll put them up against each other in a court of law, where we will be the judge, juries, and executioners. With the help of 5 custom-made categories, we'll decide which is victorious. And that part of the segment show is going to be called the Class Action Brief of the Week.
That's right. And if the brief involves or is inspired by a recently reviewed film, we will do a quick first thoughts review on it. And if the brief involves 2 older films, we might take a look at the films in a different way. And for that, we have come up with a pretty funny segment. I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun this week.
I think we got to come up with a new segment as well. We want to try to sprinkle a couple of different extra ones in there, but for now, we kind of like this one for now, so we'll keep going for at least a little bit longer before. So, but this week I got a fun one. We're actually doing our first triple threat Class Action Brief of the week.
That's right. We're doing sports movies, and we're doing it for 2 reasons. First one is a sad thing that happened. We lost Kobe, one of the greatest players of all time. And
what do you think of Kobe? You dealt with Kobe? Were you a big fan of Kobe?
I was really into the Lakers at some point when Kobe still wore the number 8. That's when I was into Kobe. But my team's always been the Bulls. So I'm an MJ guy. So
it's actually funny. I'm a Celtic guy, and so I haven't watched. I'll be honest here, I haven't watched basketball very much since the heydays of Bird and Magic. That's how old I am. I'm dating myself. Larry Bird was my favorite player of all time. And, of course, I was a big Celtics fan, so the Lakers are like an enemy, like the Red Sox and the Yankees. But I would say, Kobe, I respected it. I respected the hell out of him. He was when I watched the Celtics, and I did come back every once in a while, watch the Celtics and Lakers play, especially. But Kobe touched a lot of people's hearts, and just either way, he's a human being. It was such a tragedy with him and his daughter, and the other people in the helicopter as well. I don't want to forget them as well. Just such a tragedy. But. It
is. Yeah, it's just a real quick thing. I used to think of Kobe as a player. Like, one of the reasons why I've always been either MJ. And I've really respected Kobe. But the thing is, I like players that don't ball hog as much, which is weird. When I go back watching Kobe's plays, it's not about the fact that he was a ball hog and didn't pass. It was about the fact that he wanted to win, and he knew that he was the best player. It was not about whether he should pass or not. It was whether he would make buckets. Right. So you can't really argue against that.
Yeah, this is a very successful career, that's for sure. He inspired millions and millions of people. So, once again, Kobe, we salute you and your family. That's positive thoughts as much as we can give you.
Yeah, and the other reason why we're doing sports movies is because the Super Bowl is on Sundays. And what better way to talk about basketball and football but by doing baseball movies?
Well, there's a caveat. We will say it's almost February. Actually, by the time you're watching this, it will be February, I believe, February 1st. And that's where spring training actually starts. Pitchers and catchers start reporting at the end of February. So it's close enough in my view. So we're going to do what we call the Kevin Costner baseball trilogy. We're going to have Bull Durham versus Field of Dreams versus For Love of the Game. Now, I want to put forth that we understand what a lot of people are saying right now. You got Bull Durham, you got Field of Dreams. God, For the Love of the Game? Really? Well, let me tell you, friends, you come to the wrong show.
For love of the game, truly. All right.
We're not going to get into it. But all I will say is that we on this show have a very, very soft spot in our heart for that movie. So
for sure,
just that's what we'll say. But anyway, regardless, let's move on. Let's talk about we're on the Action Industries YouTube channel, as I mentioned earlier. It's the home of all things Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy, 2 amazing guys who give us our chance. We salute them. They're responsible for some great content. Of course, they have the Action Guys, which is on Sundays now at 5:30 Pacific. They also do all sorts of reviews, so all sorts of first looks. Of course, they do the Action Movie Anatomy, which is their flagship show, the one that got them started and got us started onto them. Well over 200 episodes now, and it's one of my favorite shows of all time. I have so much fun with that show.
Oh, same here.
So let's talk about what they did this week.
Oh yeah, Ben was in Germany, which is kind of weird. He's actually pretty close to me. Germany is not too far from Estonia.
You can sneak up on him right now. You can sneak up on him.
Just gonna track him down. This week they covered Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Koi Jandro. That was a blast. I had forgotten how awesome Koi is on AMA. Koi
is probably my second favorite, or maybe like my 1A as far as guests have been on AMA. We've always had some great guests when Ben is not there, or even when they both are there. I mean, but Roxy Stryer has always, of course, been a fantastic guest on the show because they have such great camaraderie. Over the years, some of the best guests have been like Miss Movies, Brianne Chandler and Stacey Howard have been good. Even John Roca has been on, but something about Koi, his energy. Along with Andrew, just made for
he just lights up the place. Truly lights up the place.
Like I can't imagine seeing him on like Red Bull or like on speed or something like that. So he's just high on life and he just goes a mile a minute. But it's so like contagious. So I love that movie too. It was a great look at that movie. It was a fun time.
I'm so glad I got to revisit it.
Yeah, I actually had never seen it
before. Oh, really?
I had never seen it. So I was happy to get a chance the day before to take a look, and it won me over. I love Shane Black. I've decided that a lot of times a lot of people are iffy on Shane, but I have a good relationship with Shane Black movies. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean it's very similar to The Good Guys. So in a way, I feel like it's almost maybe too similar in ways. Yeah, because if you've seen The Good Guys, you will feel right at home with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and vice versa.
Right, absolutely. So hopefully we'll get a third in that trilogy because he seems to like those buddy. He has a good handle on those buddy. I don't like buddy comedies. Like that kind of thinks of a different movie. It's a specific kind of buddy comedy that he does that works. A little twisted usually, but I love it.
But yeah, AMA was a lot of fun. If you haven't seen it, go definitely watch it. It's still up on the Popcorn Talk YouTube channel. And this is the part where we usually review the film, but this time we have 3 older movies. So instead of that, tell us, Paul, what we're doing.
We're going to do our favorite, most recent segment we call it The Public Defender. And that's not any slight meant to public defenders. It just happens to fit into our law-based show that we kind of built this around.
I wish I was a public defender.
Absolutely.
But we're going to be making fun of public defenders in a positive way.
Sure, exactly. It's more of a sympathetic way, I think.
Exactly.
Public defenders are people, generally speaking, when you have they're underpaid, they're underrepresented. When someone who can't afford a lawyer has to get somebody, it's just the guy that they have that can come in there. He'll come in with very little time to prepare, very little time to really research. It makes sense with this segment. Why is that, Richard? Why does that make sense? Because
we will be doing a top 5 list off the cuff. I'm going to give Paul a top 5 list, something sports movie related, and he has to come up with a top 5 list on the spot with no research he can't look anything up.
Which means, of course, that we're going to leave out some very classic films because we'll forget them off the top of our head and we'll get yelled at.
That's the point. That's the point.
That's a fun point. So yell at us all you want. Bring it on. We're good for it.
So are you ready for yours?
Oh, God, no, I'm not. That's the point, though. So
are you prepared for this? All right. So
I'm coming in, sloshing in with my briefcase, looking at my case. Or what's our case here?
I actually thought of a new thing that we could incorporate. If you can't come up, you have to do at least a top 3. If you can't do a top 3, you've lost your case.
Oh,
that's where the public defender loses his case.
Okay, I don't like the top 3 because I can't. Coming up with 3 or 5 in general is fine, but getting the top order, ranking it makes it even harder. Then it's different. So let's just go with at least come up with 5 good ones.
All right. So
not ranked. That's what I mean.
Yeah, your top 5 is. Give us top 5 sports movie coaches.
Ooh, top 5 sports movie coaches. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. I'm horrible with character names, so I usually go by the actors.
No, just say the movie and say where the coach was and the actor, or whatever.
Hoosiers, Gene Hackman.
All right, okay, for sure.
I got that. Warrior, Frank Grillo.
Oh yes,
I think it's got to count, right? It's still a coach.
Of course, that's a sports movie. It's drama, but it works. Frank Grillo.
Okay. You got to love that moment, right?
Listen to the Beethoven.
God, who else we got to do?
So that's 2.
That's 2. We talked about the movie a little bit beforehand. I'm going to go with the Major League. Lou Brown, the manager of the Cleveland.
All right.
When you watch that movie,
you will understand.
It's a classic. Actually, a great scene in Major League 2, which I really like with Lou Brown. I'll tell you about that later on. To see where he's like injured or he's sick and he's in the hospital, the coach, and he has to like listen to the playoff game that's going on, and the coach like he had a heart attack, so the nurses are like, calm down, you gotta keep your calm down, and he pretends he's listening. He pretends he's watching like the British BBC. He starts jumping on the bed, going, John British, and the nurse comes in, she's like, sure. He's like, I love this British shit. It's real funny. I love it. That's 3. Let's see. Top coaches.
2 more.
2 more. Oh God, easy one. Tom Hanks, League of Their Own. Tom Hanks.
Okay, haven't seen that one either.
Oh my God, I haven't. That's a classic. You have to see that one. That Tom Hanks.
I'm curious if you can come up with one of my favorites, but you got one more.
One more. Let me see. I got to think of a sports movie. The good. Well, you know, this is actually a sports movie. This counts the coach. I love him. I'm gonna go with Happy Gilmore.
Oh, right. Okay.
Action Jackson himself, Carl Weathers.
Yep, that works. You didn't name one of mine, and one of my favorite speeches is I'm going to try to do the speech, see if you get it. Gentlemen, we're in hell right now. I'm not going to lie to you. We can either sit back and get the shit kicked out of us, or we can crawl our way back, 1 inch at a time.
I got it. I got it, but I can't. This is why
I pissed away all my money. Believe it or not, I chased away the only people that ever loved me. Okay, that's Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday.
Right. You know what? I haven't seen that movie since. I actually don't think I've ever sat down and actually watched that whole movie. I think I've actually only seen it like on HBO, like in the background when I had a few Jack Daniels. So
I totally butchered the speech also.
That's what it is. But that's a good one. That's a good one. I like that though too. He's a good coach. A couple other ones I know I'm forgetting. I'm thinking off the top of my head. But you know what? I should turn in my street cred for. I did not mention Ed Harris in Radio.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
It's good. It's not a great one. It's definitely Cuba Gooding Jr. shooting for the Oscar glory and failing miserably, almost like Tropic Thunder style wise. Let's put it that way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he goes full. Yeah, it's not
okay.
But Ed Harris actually, of course,
full soloist. He goes full
soloist. Exactly. Cuba Gooding Jr. Blow off that one. But Ed Harris actually is pretty good as a coach. Okay. So I'll put him as an honorable mention just because I have to. It's Ed Harris.
Cool. I'll take it.
All right, so I got to go for you now. Top 5 for you now. Okay. I was trying to I thought about doing top 5 Kevin Costner roles since we're doing the Kevin Costner baseball trilogy. But I want to do something sports wise instead. So we're just going to do top 5 sports moments in movies.
It's going to be tough not naming the movies that we just watched. Okay. Because I'm not going to say Warrior because you'll. Okay. The Creed speech at the final fight. You're not a mistake.
Oh God!
Right. Yeah. Number 2. I just had something. Okay. No, I'm gonna take the Any Given Sunday speech because that's what I'm gonna go to. The one I just mentioned, but okay. I would have said that anyway.
Fair enough.
Okay. This is a weird one. Longest Yard. When Burt Reynolds goes for he subs himself in old man Burt Reynolds and like he does a run as a QB. I love that moment. I weirdly like that movie as well.
Fair enough.
Oh my God. Okay. No, Yeah, all right. Mean Machine is the British version of The Longest Yard, where Vinnie Jones plays soccer.
Oh, okay.
And it's not a moment per se, but the way Jason Statham just kicks the shit out of the ball when he's the goalkeeper. It's so funny. He's so weird and funny in it. So I got one more, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is freaking tough. I'm forgetting so many. Okay, all right. Rush, the moment where James Hunt he's hurt his hand, he's got his final pit stop, and they say it's raining. You can't catch Niki Lauda. Just take it easy. It just says, fuck it. Punches in the gear and takes off.
I love it. All right. We go with 5. We at least got our client another day. Let's put it that way. You know what? I'm gonna put here. Let's just go about. Give me your top 3 coaches. Let's do our other ones real quick.
Okay, mine would have been Al Pacino for sure from Any Given Sunday. Coach Carter, Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm blanking because I don't want to say the ones that you picked already.
You can.
Well, I would obviously pick Frank Grillo, but it feels like cheating. No. Okay, now, damn it, I can't use it. I wanted to say J.K. Simmons from For Love of the Game, but because he's so freaking funny in that movie.
Oh, he is. You can use him. You can use one of the ones from today. That's fine.
I'm going to use one from The Sixth Man, the friggin' awesome soap. It's an awesome comedy, but it's a pretty bad movie. Okay. I don't remember the name of the actor, but he's like this bald guy. Yeah, he's in comedies.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'll reciprocate. I'll just throw out 3 of my favorite sports movies moments. Then again, I can't use yours either, so I can't use the. I would totally use the Creed moment myself. I almost feel like it's cheating using Warrior also, since we use Warrior all the time. So, but I'm gonna have to use the Warrior, the moment where he's like, when Tommy taps at the point, it's like that's just one of the best moments of all time. But
or if you don't win this match, you don't have a home.
You don't have a home, right? Exactly. I also love the scene in actually. I'm gonna go instead of Creed, I'll use Rocky. And the funny thing I'm going to go with Rocky 5.
Okay.
Which is my favorite film. But that moment when that street fight goes on and that you hear that ghost of Mickey come up, I repeat it everywhere I go. My brother and I will still use this quote to a day. I didn't hear no bell. Get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves you. And the
you got a weird soft spots for that movie.
I really do. People, I tell all the time. Everybody's like, "This is the worst movie." That last sequence gets me every time. That and the knocked him down. Why don't you try knocking me down now? All that stuff. Anyway, my third one I'll go with. Let's see. I don't know. I know I'm excising a lot. I mean, there's the moment in the National, which would be good when he calls a shot. I like one of the things that keeps coming to my mind, especially with today, is Major League. I'm gonna have to rewatch Major League again soon. So I really love the movie. Seeing at the end where spoiler, it's not a big spoiler there because it's anything. When Charlie Sheen's pitcher had slept with a third baseman's wife at one point, and didn't know, and he comes up at one point, and the third, it's a big moment in the game. The third baseman, he comes up straight to the mound. It's the first time seeing him since they found out, and you're like, oh fuck, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And he goes, takes the ball from Vaughn. He goes, I got one thing to say to you, Vaughn. Strike this motherfucker out. And I walked away. It's just this great moment. And so that's one of my favorite moments as well. So that's what we'll go with. That is our public defender. So
we were all over the place today.
I love it. I don't know if we won or not. The audience won and lost at the same time. They won because they saw us stumbling around and bubbling. But I think I'd like to think it was at least a little funny. So.
But yeah, I hope so too. The next thing before we dive into the brief of the week, I'll just reintroduce the films for a second, because if we want to do the Ed Harris bit, we have 3 movies going against each other: For Love of the Game, Bill Durham, and Field of Dreams. But before we dive into that, we usually do a segment called "What Would Ed Harris Play?"
That's the Ed Harris we're talking about, but we're not going to use this picture because Richard Jarvi wants to show me a different picture.
Mm-hmm. So we picked. So this is. I looked up a young Ed Harris. So what I decided on, I'll just be picking one movie from these three, and I'll have him as one of the characters. And I can't think of a better one than to have him as the aging pitcher in For Love of the Game.
Oh!
I feel like young Ed Harris he's also kind of has this very toned down sort of, because Costner isn't really trying that much in For Love of the Game, but he works as his role. He's kind of this kind of held back type.
Right.
So I feel like Ed Harris would nail that role.
Oh, I love that idea. I like that. That's a great idea. I actually took a different role, and that's one actually I did consider. And actually, my picture works for that. A little bit older Ed Harris there, but I had to find Ed Harris in a baseball gear. But one bit of trivia, which some people know and some people don't know, Field of Dreams stars Amy Madigan, who was Ed Harris's wife, and they have been in like so many movies together. It's not even funny.
Oh, that's his real wife.
That's his real life wife.
Oh, wow.
They met on Swing Shift, where they were a couple, and like ever since that, they've been in like 15, 16, 17 movies together. Like they always just appear in movies together. It's amazing. It's the way they work together. It's a Hollywood couple that definitely has worked throughout the years. But because one of the reasons why, for the longest time, it was rumored that the voice in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come, was Ed Harris. For the longest time, that's what everybody thought it was. He recently denied it. So I'm going to guess that's not the case. But, in my head canon, it's going to be true, unless I hear otherwise. But I'm going to put him in Field of Dreams, and I'm going to put him as Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Okay.
The guy coming in like he just everything. I think or the other one I would throw him in there maybe would be Kevin Costner's father. Even to be a little cameo role, but a really intense role at the end there. Either way, that intensity of Ed Harris could come in very, very well. So
don't talk about the moment because I'm going to cry.
I know you will. Well, that ends this segment. So we're going to get on to the meat of the show here, the brief of the week, where we're going to put up our first triple threat with 5 custom-made categories. Should I list the categories now?
Yes, do.
Okay. We broke this down. We make custom-made categories every week because, we thought about having staple categories at one point, but it kind of makes it hard when you're doing such different things that you want to compare comparable movies, and those comparable movies usually have those linchpins you can work through that wouldn't work for every matchup, so to speak. So that's why we come with custom categories for each matchup. So our 5 ones we come up in this one: best Costner performance. That's an easy one. Kevin Costner's in all 3 movies. It's a Kevin Costner trilogy, so it seems like an easy category to tackle. Second would be the best baseball. What out of these baseball movies, which depicts baseball the best? Could be, and I kind of left that vague so we could think about how that meant. Is it most realistic, or is it most like at heart? We'll talk about that.
It's our own interpretation of how we decide that one.
The best supporting cast. Who supports Kevin Costner the best and gives us the performances we love and love to watch. Best emotional explosions. I love that one. I love that word. I love that phrasing.
It's probably my favorite category of
We can't lie though. It is a little bit of a riff off of the Action Guys AMA ones. The fist bump moments.
For sure. No, we're stealing from them.
We're totally stealing that one. We're just gonna call it something different because it is a little bit different. It's more about the emotional aspect. They use emotional explosions as their fist bumps quite a bit. So, but we'll use it. We're just going to call it emotional explosions. And then finally, we got best love interest because Kevin Costner's in love in all 3 movies at some point or another. So, which character, performer, whoever is the best for him in these films? So, let's get into it. The court is in session. We're going to start with the first.
We're going to start with best Kevin Costner performance. Right. So, first off, we have got to talk about something, and that is the fact that For Love of the Game received a Razzie nomination for Costner's portrayal of Billy Chapel. Sorry.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I'm just gonna blow my load right here. That's my favorite Kevin Costner performance ever.
Wow.
So that's an easy win. all time. This
All
is my
time.
favorite Kevin Costner performance.
Wow. Okay.
Like not his best acting, but he's my favorite performance of his.
Wow. Holy God, that's a big time statement right there.
So the fact that
not Dance with No Wolves, not Untouchables, not even Man of Steel, a more recent one.
He feels like I looked up, did Kevin Costner ever play baseball after this movie? Because everything about him screams that he fits. He's like custom made for a baseball role and exactly a pitcher role. I can see him as a pitcher. Honestly, I can't see him as anything else. But this aging pitcher, everything, like his acting quality, everything he does is tailor made for this, and he does everything correct for this one.
Well, how much thing? Okay, well, that's that right there, because there's not much discussion for you. That's it. It's the best, so that wins. Okay, so I got to write this down. Love, Bull, and Dreams, and we got Jarvi with One for Love. Yep. Okay, I have to talk this out a little bit more. I think I have them a little more equal. I do agree that he actually probably seems the most likely a baseball player in For the Love of the Game. He has that grizzled veteran, not quite alcoholic, but like older. He has it down very well. I'm not gonna lie. I did eliminate Field of Dreams early on this one. It seems like it's less of a performance as much as it is. It's more of like the surrounding atmosphere of the movie rather than a performance movie.
I get that.
So I will eliminate that one up. I did love him in Bull Durham for actually similar qualities as For Love of the Game. I thought he had a very good sense on, this is my grizzled veteran. I'm in the minor leagues. I'm gonna have my little cup of coffee in the major leagues, but the ball club is gonna need me, use me, and discard me. He's got that weight on his shoulders. So I have a hard time distinguishing between the two, Bull Durham and For the Love of the Game, as far as the performances go. I feel like For the Love of the Game has so much more around it as far as emotional moments, in terms of it almost like it tricks me into liking that performance more, if it makes sense, because there's more of those moments that are built into, this is that moment you're supposed to have a moment with the audience here. So Jesus. Script, I'm gonna have to go with you too. I love For Love of the Game. I do love that performance, and there's something about, I can't believe that got a Razzie. I can't, or nomination. Even some people say the argument is that he's too detached, but that's exactly what I like about the performance. That's the role to me, is that he is supposed to be a little bit detached, because he has the emotional explosions. I mean, there's definitely moments there where he
absolutely.
So he just, but it's, to me, it's the wrestler that makes it that way. I like that.
The moment where he starts crying on the bed when Amy has they had this big argument, and she said pretty much that it's over. And he starts the whole movie. He's been like this unaffected sort of, wooden in a way, but kind of it works for the role. And when he breaks down crying, you feel it that much more.
I agree. And the other time he has explosion, when he has the when he hurts his hand. And then he comes back and he has that moment where like everyone's doubting him, and he lashes out and everything else. It's so like you see what is going through his head. This is what he does more than his relationships with anybody else. His relationship with baseball is his priority at that point, and he can't believe it's over, and he won't accept it.
Call the physio. He's the most important person for me right now. I was like, oh no,
right?
You didn't just say that, but you kind of know what he meant as well. So
and then even after that, when he lashes out, like, you're making me.
Oh yeah, get your mind right, or you don't come back here tomorrow.
Right. Exactly. Love it. I love it so much. So I'm gonna go with that. I mean, Bull Durham to me is a close second to that. I love his performance in that. But I will
that was the one I considered as well.
Fair
but
enough.
I just can't, because I feel like all of his career has sort of culminated in For the Love of the Game, which is so weird. We're gonna get trashed for this. I don't care.
We are totally getting trashed. That's all right. We're gonna continue our trash, and then we'll go with best baseball. And I'll start off with this one. I'll start with this one. I'm gonna say it's easy for me. This one's easy for me, For Love of the Game also. The reason why I say that is I eliminated Field of Dreams because the baseball in a cornfield. It's a good wholesome baseball feeling, and like, but I took it as I was so impressed with For the Love of the Game using. I don't know how much because I know you haven't watched as much baseball at all, but like actually use real life Major League Baseball things that happened and kind of like incorporated it into the movie. Like for example, there's like newspaper articles about Billy Chappell like winning, like spinning a gem in the '84 World Series that actually happened with a Detroit Tigers pitcher named Jack Morris. So there's a lot of little things like that where he took like these real life instances and like kind of like curved Billy Chappell into the storyline there a couple times. And the baseball itself was so realistic, having Vin Scully be the play-by-play announcer. He says he's a real play-by-play announcer, probably the legendary play-by-play announcer. And I love that line at the end there, like after he spoiler, he gets a perfect game, and Vin Scully says, and Yankee Stadium, the cathedral is owned by Chappell.
Yeah, that was. I have that line written down as well.
Such a perfect baseball line, and like everything about the baseball, and the head bound, the ball hits the outfielder and bounces over into the. That's from Jose Canseco. It was all like very. So he took these real life Major League instances and added it to this like hazy, making it fictional in a way, and I love that aspect of it.
And they use the sort of like ESPN shots as well. Like, when the sports channel is showing, like the picture is grainier and the frames per second is different. It kind of worked that into it, like felt like you were watching ESPN.
And they're watching with the Yankee fans who are yelling at the screen like a bunch of bozos. Sorry. But they're all good. I would actually do the same. Honestly, I would do, even as a Red Sox fan, I'd probably do the same thing. I yell at my screen all the time. Oh, he was safe. Even though he was out by a mile.
But at the very end, he was like, perfect game. It's a good one. He deserved it. Good game.
I will argue also, I will say that I understand that there will be a strong sentiment of people who watch this video who will say Field of Dreams has the heart of baseball, the youth of baseball, the actual love of baseball. And I get that as a dreamer, as a baseball dreamer, I totally get that. So that would be my close second for that. Bull Durham is that in between, and it's fine. It just doesn't hit me as like the other ones do. So I'm going to go for Love of the Game. Field of Dreams, close second. Okay,
so very much on the same tracks as you about Field of Dreams. You get almost, you get the romanticization.
That's what I was trying to say.
How do you call it? It romanticizes the sport without actually showing it, and it makes you feel so much. You can feel the love for the game. No pun intended this time. You can feel it there, but you get no baseball pretty much. You get the playing catch and whatever, and the stars are on the field. And then you have For Love of the Game, which like the entire third of the movie is pretty much, it's all sports. It's all baseball. You get like sprinkled in scenes with Kelly Preston. But the final part of the movie is like heavily on the sport. And honestly, I don't know much about baseball. I felt like I learned stuff about baseball. I had no idea that, I can't remember what part of the rules. But anyway, I began to understand the sport a little bit. Okay. When you take Bull Durham, that's exactly what you said. It takes the best of both worlds.
Right.
It shows us the minor league sort of the sport. They play on dirt and the locker rooms. It's dirty, and you actually get the plays and everything. So it incorporates them both. And I almost went with Durham for this reason, but I can't shake the moments in For Love of the Game. That just it's so like the last part is so heavily on the plays and the game, and I feel like I want to go and watch a baseball game after I watch this movie. So we got 4-0 for Love of the Game then. We got more categories. We are getting canceled here, just so you know. Like I can imagine Billy Belford. I don't even know his thoughts on it. He probably hates it. He is probably like throwing shit now as he's watching it. Jake Acavetta, probably the same thing. All of our good friends that watch our show. I don't know. Bateman is behind us. David does like this movie. David does like that. Yeah, true. He brought it out. Okay, so the next category would be Best Supporting Cast. Go ahead. You can start this one.
You're hesitant now, aren't you?
I don't want to say it. Okay, well, I'll take it movie by movie. For Love of the Game has Just That Cox. That's a big thing. You got John C. Reilly as his best friend and what do you say, his catcher?
Yeah.
And J.K. Simmons as the coach. I mean, are you kidding me? The way he just chews gum on the sidelines and just like pops the bubbles. He doesn't have to do anything. He's just perfect. Okay, these are the three that stuck with me. In Durham, honestly, I have trouble remembering more than Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon. They were the two biggest ones. And if I think about all the extended crew, I don't know any of the names of the actors. Honestly, one of the funniest guy, I think it was the assistant coach. It's like, good play. All right, let's go, guys. No drops. So that he was really funny. Yeah. And in Field of Dreams, okay, Ray Liotta, Amy Radigan, and James Earl Jones. I almost want to give this to
Madigan.
Field of Dreams. I'm not going to talk about Radigan just yet, but
Madigan.
James Earl. Oh, sorry?
It's Madigan. M.
Madigan. Oh, I said Radigan. That's a typo. But James Earl Jones was awesome in this. And I was afraid that he was going to, I don't know, be too cartoonish in a way, because he has that quality that he like takes over the scene, and when he smiles, he just lights up the scene and everything. Yeah. It's just that's just larger than life feel about him. You know, he's been Mufasa, he's been Darth Vader, but he works in this, and I'm giving this to For Love of the Game. I almost gave this to Field of Dreams. I don't know. I can't like. I don't want to give this to Field of Dreams just to give it. You know.
Yeah,
I gotta be honest. Like,
you gotta be honest. I get it. I totally.
Brian Cox and J.K. and John C. Reilly. Well, John C. Reilly is probably the biggest part why it's going to For Love of the Game.
Okay. All right. So it's up to me now. I eliminated Bill Durham up really quickly because I when it comes to Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins, I actually almost see them as a trio more than it's like they're not even really a supporting cast. It's almost like a trio to me. I mean, Kevin Costner is the lead, but they're so integral to everything that they're not even a supporting cast to me. So I eliminated Bill Durham right away for that. I have the same argument. Field of Dreams, Amy Madigan. I love her character. I love how she like steps up the 60s girl stepping up to the book burning and supporting her husband, even though she's questioning it at the same time, but she has that verve. Such a unique kind of character. James Earl Jones, you mentioned, is great. Ray Liotta does a great job as she was Joe. Also Burt Lancaster as Archie Moonlight Graham, the old doc.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There's a lot. And Timothy Busfield as the brother-in-law who finally sees the light at the end. And there's a lot of good stuff. Although at the same time, I don't know if I can go for Love again. I'm trying to talk myself into this whole thing. I do love John C. Reilly. J.K. Simmons is one of my favorite actors of all time. Jenna Malone, even you did mention as his kind of stepdaughter. No, I mean not really, but like,
Jenna Malone. That's right.
Daughter of his love. It's just she actually was nominated for positive awards in this movie. Not like anything like Academy Award. I can't remember what they were. They're all like Young Actors Award, young performances, but they were good. And having Vin Scully as that announcer, it's Vin Scully being Vin Scully, so I don't know if I can really credit it as much as a performance.
Well, it's still supporting cast.
But in a supporting cast. So I'm torn. I'm torn again. I'm torn. But I think I gotta give it to For Love of the Game again. Field of Dreams is so close though. So it
is. It really is. I almost went there myself.
You know what? I'm going to give it to Field of Dreams, and this is why. Not just because I want to give it to something else, but Field of Dreams, the supporting cast is actually almost more important than Kevin Costner's role in it and Field of Dreams.
Foul ball.
I'll
let you have it.
You have it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying though? Like in terms of like Kevin Costner is the most important by far in For Love of the Game. It's all about his performance, and they do support him in a way. But without the supporting cast in Field of Dreams, it wouldn't be nearly as powerful, I think.
That's a really good point.
You know, so it's like almost like there's more in For Love of the Game, but Field of Dreams needs its supporting cast more than For Love of the Game does.
And now that you say that, honestly, like I wouldn't want to, but if I had to, like if you take Kevin Costner out of Field of Dreams and have another, 80s, 90s superstar in there, honestly, I feel like the movie wouldn't suffer as much, even though I love Kevin Costner to bits.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? I'm changing mine.
You're changing yours.
I'm changing it.
All right.
I feel like that movie is driven by the supporting cast. Honestly,
that's why last second I turned, because I was like thinking about it in my head. It's exactly the same reasons. You need that supporting cast in Field of Dreams more than you would need them in For Love of the Game. As much as the For Love of the Game is good.
Man.
So, all right, there you go. That's what I'm here for. That's why I get paid the big bucks. Or the $0, but that's okay. All right, well then let's move on. We got, at least I feel a little better. We're not shutting out the other two anymore at this point. Move on to best emotional explosions.
Mm-hmm.
This is my turn to go first, isn't it?
Yeah, go first.
I think we're going back to For Love of the Game, maybe, but Bull Durham has some cool moments, but they're not emotional explosions. There's some cool emotional moments. I love. I will bring up the scene where Nuke LaLoosh gets called up to the big leagues, and then Crash gets cut.
Yeah,
it's like because he's not needed anymore.
This is the most difficult part of a manager's
right. And the emotional, the weight on his shoulders. He knows it's coming. He knows they don't really care about him. The big leagues didn't care about him. They just cared about him mentoring the young guy, and him seeing Nuke like use in like his when he talks to the journalists, using like all the quotes.
Yeah,
else.
It's a simple game,
right? So it's like day by day, and so it's like you see that weight. And also one of the best lines in all three movies, actually, not an emotional explosion, but it's the scene where she asks him what he wants, and he has this big, long, random speech. What do you like? Like the cock, the pussy, the hit ball, the back, like and whatever, blah, 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 and passionate kisses that last 3 days, and he walks out.
Right. Yeah.
Great, like take control. You take control of the situation. I love that. But kind of pales in comparison to both Field and Dreams to me, and to For Love of the Game. Field of Dreams had some great emotional moments for me. Moment where James Earl Jones admits that he heard the voice, admits he saw what he saw. It's like that finally, that cohesion of yes, I'm not crazy. We're gonna make this happen. And the emotional explosions, of course, when just Ray Liotta first steps on that field. And he almost you never get a true sense of it. They never define exactly what is going on. Like, is it heaven? Is it things? But you have this like moment of clarity on Ray Liotta, like, and he's like, "No, you can't come. You're not invited." And it's like when Ray, when Kevin Costner like, "What do you mean I can't come? I built this field. You're in my fucking corner, whatever." But he's like, "No, you can't come. This is not your time yet." In a way, and it's so heart wrenching. But then you realize why. And I know you know what I mean that I'm talking about now. The father-son sequence. Oh God, playing catch with the father. Yes, that's a few manly tears. That's for sure. Absolutely. And For Love of the Game. Every inning, as it gets progressively more, I feel like I'm in his head the entire game. I feel like I feel like I'm standing right next to him as a ghost, just watching him clear the mechanism.
Oh, yes, that's my fist pump, not emotional. Fist pump, clear the mechanism.
And he goes silent, he just watches. But then, like it gets to the 2 moments beyond that. 8th inning comes around. His whole life is flashed before his eyes in between innings. He comes out. He looks at the scoreboard.
It's like, how many runs have the Yankees made?
Has anybody got on base? Yeah.
Has he got on base? No one. Honestly, I don't remember the last time I saw this. Billy, I've never seen this.
And he's like there, and he's like, oh. And then like the injury to the shoulder God, I never asked.
And his like injured hand, the one he cut, I think that played into it as well.
God, I've never involved in a baseball game my entire life because it always seems so silly. Just make my shoulder not hurt for 10 minutes. And like even more, the last batter he's facing, the young rookie kid, he's thrown off the curveball a few times. No, the curveball's not going to make it. It's going to hurt too much. And he goes,
he's going to hurt, and he knows it.
And he goes, yeah, he goes, think about it.
He knows it.
He's like, all right. He's like, you got to think, Billy. You can't just throw. You got to think. All right, this is going to hurt.
Yeah, this is going to hurt, that one.
And he tosses it off. And
he grunts. He does the grunt. He's like, ah.
And then finally, they hit up the middle, just out of his reach. And you're like, it goes in slow motion. You're like, oh my God, get there, get the fucking ball. And he gets it. And the look of pure elation and joy. You know where I'm going. I got the game. That's what got me the most. I can't. Like, Field of Dreams is my childhood emotion. I love so much of that. But God, for the love of the game, for that moment, it just there's something about the grizzled inked vet, just one more time reaching for it, getting that glory. Something, I don't know, something magical about it. I'm easily for love of the game in this one. I shouldn't say easily. Field of Dreams is close, but
for me, I'm still a bit undecided. And again, I gotta shun Durham in this because it just doesn't have the most powerful moments for this category. I'm just gonna pull something up for Field of Dreams. Yeah, there's no question that it's the father-son catch moment, and it's so powerful. And the movie is made even more magical by James Horner's score.
Yes,
like from the first, like the opening credits, everything. It has this super. It's 89, I think, but it still feels like it's like this early 90s movie score. It has. I'm not. Yeah. It brings you back. It tells exactly how the movie is going to be, and the final moments when it's throwing the ball. That's the moment that goes up from Field of Dreams. But from for Love of the Game, honestly, like the final part of the movie is definitely the most gripping. But there's this little moment when Billy Chappell goes to his friend on the Yankees. I can't remember the name. The hitter, the black guy.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it though.
I'm sorry, that's not how. Well, his best friend from the Yankees who used to be on his team.
Yep.
And they're talking about right before he goes to the Yankees, because it's like a flashback. He talks about, that's your team. You can't leave the Tigers. Right. And then he goes, points at his family and goes, that's my team right there.
Right.
And you're like, that's your team. That's your family. That's why you're doing this. You're doing this for them.
Right.
And that little moment, they don't dwell on it. They just move on.
Yep.
That was what got me.
Yeah.
And these are the two moments that I'm picking up against, like putting up against each other. But there's nothing more powerful for me in movies than father-son moments. And I'm picking Field of Dreams.
I can't argue with that at all. I totally can't argue with that. So I love that movie. That movie is such a God.
It's the most magical movie of the three, for sure.
Yeah. It's different reasons, but I would say that Field of Dreams is like the most, not childlike in a bad way, but it's that childhood emotion.
Yeah, sort of like Spielberg-y, like
yes,
yeah,
very Spielberg-y, very innocent, very hopeful, very. Whereas For Love of the Game is like the alcoholic, like grizzled old vet version of that. So it's two different things. And Bull Durham again is like somewhere in the middle of that. It's kind of
exactly. It's like the best of two, but it has this middle path that you. I don't know. Yeah, I feel bad. I'm not giving this to Durham.
I think it's not winning because it's got the extremes of For Love of the Game and Field of Dreams are kind of like almost cut it out in a way. But all right, well, there we go. We got one more category left. Best love interest.
Before we go into that, what's the score so far?
You want to know, or you want to wait to the end?
All right, I'll wait. The way you said it, I'll wait. So the best one, best love interest. All right, this is. So I'll start with For Love of the Game. Kelly Preston is like the American sweetheart. She has this sparkle in her, and she's my personal favorite. But in this case, I'm not going to pick her. So for me and I'll tell you why after I discuss the other two. Susan Sarandon, I feel like is the most underrated of the three. She's truly a selfless character. You can say that she's promiscuous, but honestly, that part gets taken out of the movie when they talk about like when Lelouch bangs the the girl in the dressing room. Sort of, I'll say bang because that's what they said. And she goes out to, and Susan Sarandon says, she says to Susan Sarandon, "I got caught in the clubhouse. You can't do that again." And she goes, "But I got lured." And she goes, "Women don't get lured. You're a confident woman and you're responsible for your actions. Now say it." And that sort of was like, wow, okay. They diffused the moment. There's no objectifying women.
Right.
And that's, yes, Susan Sarandon sleeps with the players, but she does that to sort of create these superstars. She has pretty much, well, probably some self-interest in it, but honestly, it just feels like she loves the game so much that she doesn't care if they leave her, or she cares, but she does it anyway because she loves the game so much. I feel like she's very underrated in this sense. And then Field of Dreams, Amy Madigan, like I feel she supports everything that Costner does, like all of his weird ideas. The first time he comes to her, he's like, "I heard this voice." Like, what voice? And instead of getting like angry and sort of taking it out on him, she's like, okay. She listens to him. She's like, okay, you got to do this. You got to do this. And everything he does is like, this is crazy. We might lose our farm, but we're going to do this. And she sees the players. She's in on it. That's sort of, you don't see that very often. Usually it's like this, what was this Evan Almighty when he starts like building the ship? I feel like there's a comparison to be made.
Yeah, I get that.
His wife is like, what are you like? I'm not going to support you in this.
Right.
Whatever. But she's all in on it all the way. And I'm giving this to Field of Dreams because she's like, she's a keeper. She's a keeper.
Okay.
That's like, out of these three, that's who if I got to pick out of these three, that's who I'd pick as my wife.
Okay, that makes sense. I get that. Okay. I will also start it for Love of the Game. He's the one that easily is not for Love of the Game. Kelly Preston, by far to me, is the weakest of the three. I could replace her with anybody, and I don't think the movie suffers at all. And the character herself is good. She's fine. She's solid. She's not like, I'm not trying to knock her, but in comparison, it's fine. I worry more about Kevin Costner and Jenna Malone's relationship than I do more about than him and Kelly. So it's the only, I think she's only the only weak point in the movie per se for me. I guess I could say, I think when I wrote my notes is that she's just the most generic in a way.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
So it comes down to Field of Dreams and Bull Durham. Now, again, I love what you say about Field of Dreams because I'm all over. I love Amy Madigan. I think she's a very underrated actress. She's very good in everything she does. She's kind of like, she's a very perfect foil for Ed Harris in a way because they both get a lot of roles like this. Sometimes they're very thankless. And she's even more thankless than he is. Because I see her mostly in Ed Harris movies. But I love the fact that she supports him right away. They give her reasons to, though, too. It's not all blind. Like, for one point, she actually shares the dream about Terrence Mann in Fenway Park. So that gets her in there, and I get that. Beyond that, they make sure she's this child of the 60s. She's this dreamer. She's this romantic, not even love romantic, but just a romanticized person. Or she believes in the romantic side of life, and that's what that person needs, and that's what that story needs. So she is a perfectly crafted character, especially for the time. Perfectly crafted female character. She's a strong character for the most part, and they give her good things. However, I think this is the first one. I got to give Bull Durham. I think that Susan Sarandon is an amazing character in this film, especially what I just said. But for the time, the 80s, strong female, giving out strong female advice. She's in control of the sex in the film. It's not like it's. She does lose a little bit of give to Kevin Costner when he says the whole long speech, and then walks out. She loses a little bit. That's what makes him intriguing to her. Is that no one's ever really turned me down before in a way. But she's this great mentor. She loves the game as much as he does, and she helps them out with their game as much as it's not even about sex. That's just part of it. This great mentor. I think she got nominated for this. I believe. I'm not positive on that. I have to look that up.
I'll look it up. You keep going.
But to me, she is actually she might be the best thing about Bull Durham. To be honest with you, I mean, Kevin Costner is great, and Tim Robbins is great. But there's something fiery about that character that keeps drawing me back to this movie. So I have to give this one to Bull Durham. So we got 1 point.
Yeah, I'm glad you went there.
I mean, it's a close one, though.
So Susan Sarandon did receive a Golden Globe nomination
for
the role.
Not an Academy Award.
And deservedly. No, the only Academy Award nomination was for screenwriting.
Which was kind of a strange one for me, but
it really was.
I digress. I don't think it's like that specific. I mean, the speech alone might give me some credit that way, but otherwise. So that's where we are. We are finished with our categories, and are you curious to see who won?
I am. I know who won, but I'm sure I want to know by how much.
If I had gone with Field of Dreams and Amy Madigan, and I was close to doing so, it would have been a tie.
Really?
It would have been 5-5, and Bull Durham would have gotten 0. It would have been 5 for Love of the Game, 5 for Dream, nothing for Bull Durham, and we would have to come up with some kind of way to break the tie. But because I threw it Susan Sarandon's way for Love of the Game, wins in our court. No, that's Field of Dreams. I just almost did a La La Land there. You know what? I don't think I actually wrote. Oh, there it is. It's down below. For Love of the Game. That's a winner by 1 point for the Love of the Game. Considering how we started off so strong for Love of the Game, me swaying you at 1 point to Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
It became very close. Just not between the two movies that many people would think. A lot of people
but honestly,
Bull Durham, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes it felt like For Love of the Game would take this by a mile, but honestly, I'm glad it didn't, because it's our subjectivity, our love for the movie that's usually not shared by others,
right?
And it's for that reason I'm kind of glad that it's closer.
Yes, me too.
Because Field of Dreams, honestly, I don't remember seeing Field of Dreams before in one go, and I was just taken away by that movie.
It's a magical movie. It's like the film that Spielberg should have made that he didn't make.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very Spielberg movie.
Good thesis.
Yeah. Speaking of thesis, we should do that sometimes. But yeah, I love that. I love both. I love all three of these films. I'm not going to lie. But I'm happy. I'm satisfied that For Love of the Game won by 1 point. So that's going to be our show this week. We should actually push our show next week, which we can actually know we're actually ahead of the game this time. We usually come up with these things like on Monday or Tuesday. We're still stretching for categories by Wednesday or Thursday night, and we've solidified this morning. But we know what we're going to do this week. We might have a guest on. They don't know that yet because I haven't asked them, so I won't say anything. But instead, we're going to do a special. We decided that we love our format. And we're going to do our format most of the time, but every once in a while we like to do specials. We did the Star Wars. We ranked the Star Wars movies. All of them. That was a special class action. Next week is going to be a special class action. It's Oscars. It's the Oscars time. So we're going to have our very special Oscars episodes. We're going to predict the Oscars, and we're going to be, truth be told, there's some categories we're going to predict them all. There's some categories
we're just going to wing them.
Throwing darts of all the categories we haven't seen, but we have seen most of the big movies in the big categories. So those will be for what we want to win, what we think we'll win, what the buzz is, what we think the buzz is, and we'll go from there. And then we'll keep score and see how we do. That's what we're going to do. Hopefully we'll have a guest, but that's it. So where can they find you, REJ?
Richard-Erik with a K Jarvi on Instagram and Facebook, and go follow Action Industries everywhere.
I'll throw up there now, patreon.com/Team Action. That's where you will find everything Action Industries. Coming great content. They're always developing more ideas and developing their Action Guys show even further. Hopefully it's going to get even more and more audience interactive at times. We have some great, the general tier has great camaraderie with the generals of the Action Army. We go around everywhere, try to meet up with each other if we can. We have a great chat. I have general bunkers every day before a stream, before the action guys, to hang out with Andrew and Ben for about 15 minutes talking about a lot of different things. But it's a lot of fun. And I'm at Paul _DiNuzzo for on Twitter. I say DiNuzzo because that's the easy way to spell it. It's DINUZZO. So that's where we are. I am so excited. This was a fun time. I had a great time with this one.
Me too.
We will see you next week with the Oscars, and then next week after that, hopefully. From there on in. So
thanks for tuning in.
Like and subscribe, and leave us comments, and give us suggestions. I'm always open for suggestions on these things, so you know where to find us. I love you guys. Court is adjourned, my friends. Court is adjourned.